2 in the morning, and I'm hunched over our kitchen sink with a wrench, listening to water drip like a metronome counting down to something I don't want to face. The faucet's been acting up for weeks, just like everything else in this house, apparently. My phone buzzes against the counter. Working late again. Don't wait up. Me, Marta. My wife of 23 years. The woman who used to text me grocery lists and reminders about parent-teacher conferences. Now her messages read like corporate memos from someone who'd rather be anywhere else. I set the wrench down and stare at that text. Working late. Right. At 11:30 on a Tuesday night, because that's totally normal for a family law attorney in suburban Michigan. The house feels different when she's gone. Quieter, sure, but also somehow lighter, like a weight's been lifted that I hadn't even realized was pressing down on us. Our daughter Amelia moved out for college 6 months ago, and our son Ross got his own apartment right after graduation. Now it's just me and Marta rattling around in this 4-bedroom colonial like two strangers sharing a hotel lobby. I finish with the faucet and wash my hands, watching the water swirl down the drain. Clean water going in, dirty water going out. Simple, honest, unlike whatever's been happening in my marriage lately. The garage door rumbles to life at 2:47. I know because I'm lying in bed staring at the ceiling, and the red numbers on the alarm clock seem to mock me with their precision. Her heels click across the kitchen tiles, designer shoes on a Tuesday night shift. Because that makes perfect sense. She slips into bed like a ghost, all careful movements and held breath. I keep my eyes closed and my breathing steady, playing the part of the oblivious husband. It's a role I've been perfecting for months now. "How was work?" I ask the darkness. She freezes. "I thought you were asleep." Hard to sleep with that faucet dripping. Fixed it, though. Amazing what you can accomplish when you've got time on your hands. That's great, honey. Thank you. Honey. When did that word start sounding like an apology? I roll over and study her silhouette in the dim light filtering through our bedroom blinds. Marta's always been beautiful. Sharp cheekbones, auburn hair that catches light like copper wire, green eyes that used to look at me like I hung the moon. Now those eyes slide away from mine like they're searching for the exit. "Big case keeping you busy?" I press. "You know how it is. The Henderson divorce is complicated. Lots of assets to untangle." The Henderson divorce. Right. Funny thing about being married to a lawyer, they're really good at constructing believable lies. Unfortunately for Marta, I'm an insurance investigator. I'm even better at spotting them. "Must be exhausting," I say. "All those late nights, all that untangling." She shifts beside me, and I catch a whiff of cologne. Not mine. Something expensive and cloying that makes my stomach clench. "I'm really tired, David. Can we talk in the morning?" David. Not Dave, like she's called me since we were dating. David, like I'm a client or a stranger at the grocery store. "Sure thing," I tell her. "Sweet dreams." But I don't sleep. Instead, I lie there listening to her breathe and wondering when my wife became a stranger. Wondering when our marriage turned into an elaborate performance where we both know our lines, but neither of us believes the script anymore. The next morning, she's gone before I wake up. No note, no goodbye, just the faint scent of her perfume and a coffee mug in the sink. I pour myself a cup from the pot she left behind and notice something I've been trying to ignore for weeks. She made exactly 1 cup's worth. Not the full pot she used to make when we'd sit together at the kitchen table, sharing the newspaper and complaining about the weather. 1 cup for 1 person. The math isn't exactly complicated. I'm getting dressed for work when I spot it. A small, unfamiliar phone charger plugged into the outlet on her side of the bed. The cord disappears behind the nightstand, and when I crouch down to investigate, my fingers find a slim smartphone wedged between the nightstand and the wall. My hands shake as I power it on. No lock screen, because why would there be? Who's going to find a hidden phone in your own bedroom? The text messages load like a punch to the gut. Can't wait to see you tonight, Jay. Last night was incredible. You're incredible, Jay. Tell me you're thinking about me, Jay. And Marta's responses, always thinking about you. David's working late tomorrow. We'll have more time. I've never felt like this before. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I sit down hard on the edge of our bed, the bed where we've slept together for over 2 decades, where we conceived our children, where we used to talk about our dreams and fears and everything in between. Now it feels contaminated, like a crime scene. I scroll through weeks of messages, each one a small betrayal that adds up to something monstrous. Photos I don't want to see, plans I don't want to know about, a whole secret life unfolding in my hands like a roadmap to my own humiliation. Jay. The mysterious Jay who's been stealing my wife one text message at a time. I keep scrolling until I find a name. Jake Morrison. And suddenly, everything clicks into place. Jake Morrison, the hotshot public relations consultant who joined Marta's firm 6 months ago. Jake Morrison, who she's mentioned exactly 3 times in casual conversation, always with studied indifference. Jake Morrison, who drives a white Tesla and wears suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Jake Morrison, who's been screwing my wife. I take pictures of everything with my own phone, screenshots of messages, photos, even the phone itself as evidence. 23 years of marriage, and it comes down to this. Me crouched on my bedroom floor, documenting my wife's betrayal like it's an insurance claim. Because that's what this is, isn't it? A claim against the life I thought I had. Time to investigate what's left and figure out what I'm owed. I slide the phone back where I found it and finish getting ready for work. In the bathroom mirror, I look like the same guy I was yesterday. 47 years old, brown hair going gray at the temples, laugh lines that don't get much use anymore. But something's different behind my eyes. Something harder. Something that's done playing the fool. At the office, I can't concentrate on anything. I've got 3 cases on my desk. A suspicious house fire, a fender bender with conflicting witness statements, and a slip and fall that smells like fraud. But all I can think about is those text messages. The casual way Marta wrote about me, like I was an inconvenience to be managed rather than a husband to be respected. You look like hell, my partner Cal observes, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Cal Martinez has been my friend since high school and my business partner for the last 8 years. He's also the only person I know who can spot a lie from 3 counties away. Thanks for the pep talk, I mutter, pretending to review the house fire photos. I'm serious. What's eating you? I consider telling him. Cal's been through his own divorce, a messy one that left him cynical about marriage and suspicious of everyone's motives. He'd understand. He might even have some advice. But I'm not ready to say it out loud yet. Once I tell someone, it becomes real. Once it's real, I have to do something about it. Just tired, I say instead. Marta's been working late a lot. House feels empty. Cal studies me with the same intensity he brings to insurance fraud cases. Working late, huh? At a family law firm? Big case, complicated divorce? Right. He doesn't believe me, but he doesn't push. That's one of the things I appreciate about Cal. He knows when to back off. Well, if you need to talk... I know. Thanks. He leaves me alone with my thoughts and my photographs. I pull up the screenshots on my phone and scroll through them again, looking for clues I might have missed. Dates, times, locations. The methodology of betrayal laid out like evidence in a case file. That's when I notice something interesting. Jake's messages follow a pattern, always sent during business hours, always carefully worded to sound professional if taken out of context. The guy's covering his tracks, protecting himself. Smart. But Marta's messages are different, reckless, emotional. She's not thinking like a lawyer. She's thinking like a woman in love. And that, I realize, might be the most painful part of all. It's not just physical. It's not just some midlife crisis or moment of weakness. She's in love with him. The question is, what am I going to do about it? I could confront her directly, demand an explanation, suggest counseling. The mature, reasonable approach. But where's the satisfaction in that? Where's the justice for 23 years of marriage thrown away for some smooth-talking consultant with a fancy car? No. I think I deserve better than a mature, reasonable response. I think I deserve some payback. The next few days pass in a strange haze of normalcy. Marta and I move around each other like dancers who've forgotten the choreography, all polite smiles and careful distance. She leaves early, comes home late, and fills the space between with text messages about work emergencies and client dinners. I play along. I nod sympathetically when she complains about difficult cases. I offer to pick up groceries when she says she'll be too busy. I even suggest we plan a weekend getaway once her schedule lightens up. That sounds wonderful, she says, not meeting my eyes. Let me just get through this Henderson case first. The Henderson case. Her go-to excuse for everything. I'm starting to wonder if the Hendersons are real people or just convenient fiction. While she's busy with her secret life, I'm building a case file. Not for court. I'm not ready to lawyer up yet. This is for me. I need to understand the scope of what I'm dealing with before I decide how to respond. Jake Morrison turns out to be an interesting subject. 35 years old, originally from California, moved to Michigan 8 months ago to open the Midwest branch of his PR firm. Divorced, no kids, lives in a downtown high-rise that rents for more than most people make in a year. His social media presence is carefully curated, all professional accomplishments and motivational quotes, with just enough personal touches to seem authentic. The guy's good at his job, I'll give him that. His client list reads like a who's who of regional businesses, and his success stories are impressive. He's exactly the kind of ambitious, polished professional that would appeal to someone like Marta. Someone like my wife. I dig deeper. Financial records are harder to access without crossing legal lines, but I can piece together a general picture from public information. Jake's doing well for himself. Expensive car, expensive apartment, expensive suits. The kind of lifestyle that screams success to anyone paying attention. Including, apparently, married women looking for excitement. The more I learn about Jake Morrison, the more I understand what Marta sees in him. He's everything I'm not. Young, flashy, unencumbered by decades of routine and responsibility. He probably takes her to trendy restaurants and talks about his exciting clients and makes her feel like the most fascinating woman in the room. Meanwhile, I'm home fixing leaky faucets and watching Netflix reruns. I can see the appeal. I hate that I can see the appeal, but I'm trying to be objective here. If I'm going to respond to this situation effectively, I need to understand all the variables. That's when I decide to see them together. It takes 3 days of careful surveillance, a skill set that comes in handy when you investigate insurance fraud for a living, before I spot them. Thursday evening downtown, walking out of an upscale Italian restaurant I've never been to. Marta's wearing a red dress I don't recognize, and she's laughing at something Jake's saying like he just delivered the punchline of the century. I'm parked across the street in my 10-year-old Honda, watching through a telephoto lens I borrowed from the office. They look like a couple from a magazine ad, beautiful, successful, perfectly matched. The kind of couple that makes other people feel inadequate just by existing. Jake opens the passenger door of his Tesla for her, ever the gentleman. She slides in with practiced ease, like she's done this 100 times before. Maybe she has. I follow them at a distance, staying back far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to see where they're going. They drive to Jake's building, park in the underground garage, and disappear into an elevator that probably costs more per month than my mortgage. I sit in my car for 2 hours, waiting, watching. thinking about what's happening 30 floors above me while I'm down here in the dark, like some pathetic private investigator in a bad movie. At 11:30, Marta emerges alone. She walks to her own car, parked 3 blocks away, I notice, because even in her recklessness, she's being careful, and drives home. I beat her there by 10 minutes. "How was your evening?" I ask when she slips into bed at midnight. "Long. The Henderson depositions ran late, and then Jennifer wanted to grab dinner to discuss strategy." Jennifer, her law partner, who, according to social media, spent the evening at her daughter's school play. "Sounds exhausting," I say. "It was, but we made good progress." "I bet you did." The next morning, I call in sick to work and drive to Jake's building. I want to get a sense of his routine, his patterns, his vulnerabilities. Know your enemy, as they say. The building is everything I expected, all glass and steel and expensive minimalism. The kind of place that makes you feel underdressed just walking through the lobby. I park across the street and wait. Jake emerges at 8:15 sharp, looking like he stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. Tailored suit, perfect hair, confident stride. He climbs into his Tesla and drives toward the business district, probably heading to his office to charm more clients and ruin more marriages. I follow him to a sleek building downtown where his company rents the top 3 floors. Morrison and Associates, according to the directory in the lobby. The Associates part is probably optimistic. From what I can tell, Jake's a one-man operation trying to look bigger than he is. Interesting. The successful hotshot image might be more carefully constructed than it appears. I spend the morning researching his business. Morrison and Associates has been operating in Michigan for exactly 8 months, the same 8 months Jake's been in town. Before that, there's a gap in his professional history that's hard to explain. His California firm dissolved right around the time he moved here, and the client testimonials on his website are suspiciously generic. The guy might be running a more sophisticated con than I initially thought. That afternoon, I drive past Marta's office building. Her car's in the parking lot, right where it should be. She really is at work, at least during business hours. Whatever's happening between her and Jake, they're keeping it separate from their professional lives. Smart. Probably Jake's idea. He strikes me as the type who thinks 3 moves ahead. But everyone makes mistakes eventually. Everyone has vulnerabilities. I just need to find his. I'm heading home when my phone rings. Amelia, my daughter. "Hey, Dad, how are you holding up?" Interesting choice of words. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Why wouldn't I be?" "I don't know. You sounded weird when I called last week, and Mom seems, distracted lately. Everything okay at home?" My 20-year-old daughter is more perceptive than I gave her credit for. "Everything's fine. Your mom's just busy with a big case." "The Henderson thing?" So Marta's been using the same story with the kids. Consistent, at least. "That's the one. How's school going?" We talk for 20 minutes about her classes, her friends, her plans for summer break. Normal father-daughter conversation that makes me feel almost human again. But I can hear the concern in her voice, the questions she's not asking. Kids always know when something's wrong, even when the adults are trying to protect them. After we hang up, I sit in my driveway for a long time, thinking about what this is going to do to our family. Ross and Amelia love their mother. They respect her. They think she's this strong, principled woman who's built a successful career while raising 2 kids. They don't know she's been lying to all of us for months. They don't know their mother is in love with someone else. And they definitely don't know what I'm planning to do about it. That evening, Marta comes home at a reasonable hour for once. She's in a good mood, humming while she makes dinner, asking about my day, actually listening to my answers. It's like having my wife back, the woman I married all those years ago, which makes it worse somehow. Because now I know this version of Marta, the warm, attentive, loving version, only appears when she's feeling guilty about something. "I was thinking," she says over dinner, "maybe we should plan that weekend getaway sooner rather than later. I could use a break from work. That sounds great. Where were you thinking? Maybe that little bed and breakfast up in Traverse City, the one we went to for our anniversary a few years ago? I remember that weekend. We walked along the beach, drank wine by the fireplace, made love like we were still newlyweds. It was one of the last times I felt truly connected to her. Now she wants to go back there. With me. While she's having an affair with Jake Morrison. The audacity is almost impressive. Sure, I tell her. Let me check my schedule and we'll pick a date. She smiles. A real smile. Not one of the careful, measured ones she's been giving me lately. For a moment, I almost believe she means it. Almost believe we can fix this. Then her phone buzzes with a text message, and I watch her face change. Watch her eyes light up in a way they haven't for me in months. She glances at the message, types a quick response, and sets the phone aside. But the damage is done. The mask has slipped, and I can see the truth underneath. She's not planning a romantic weekend with me to save our marriage. She's planning it to ease her conscience. And that's when I realize something important. I'm done being the understanding husband. I'm done making excuses for her behavior and pretending everything's fine. It's time to stop investigating and start acting. Saturday morning arrives gray and drizzling, the kind of Michigan weather that makes you want to crawl back into bed and pretend the world doesn't exist. Marta's already up, showered, and dressed in workout clothes I've never seen before. Going to yoga, she announces, grabbing her keys and a water bottle. Might grab lunch with the girls afterward. The girls, another convenient fiction. I checked. Her usual yoga class was canceled this week for the instructor's vacation. Have fun, I tell her, not looking up from my coffee. She hesitates at the door like she wants to say something else, then thinks better of it and leaves. 5 minutes later, I'm dressed and following her. She doesn't go to the yoga studio. Instead, she drives straight to Jake's building, parks in the underground garage, and disappears into the elevator. Saturday morning rendezvous. How romantic. I sit in my car and think about what I want to accomplish here. I could confront them, burst into his apartment like some jealous husband in a bad soap opera. But that would be emotional, messy, and ultimately unsatisfying. They'd apologize, make excuses, promise it wouldn't happen again. Then they'd just get better at hiding it. No, I want something more elegant, more permanent. I want consequences. Jake's Tesla is parked in its assigned spot, gleaming white under the fluorescent lights. Beautiful car, expensive car, the kind of car that makes a statement about the person driving it. Time to make a different kind of statement. I pull out my keys and approach the Tesla. The parking garage is empty except for a few other cars, and the security cameras are positioned to watch the entrances, not the individual parking spaces. Perfect. I drag my house key along the driver's side door, from the front wheel well to the back bumper. The sound is satisfying, metal on metal, a long scratch that cuts through the pristine paint job like a scar. Then I walk around to the other side and do it again. For good measure, I let the air out of all 4 tires. Not slashing them, that would be vandalism. Just releasing the air, which is more of an inconvenience than actual damage. Finally, I take a business card from my wallet, David Thompson, insurance investigator, and slide it under the windshield wiper with a handwritten note. Hope you're insured. The husband. Let him figure out what that means. I'm back in my car and heading home before Marta even knows I was there. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes, but the satisfaction lingers for hours. My phone rings as I'm pulling into my driveway. Unknown number. Is this David Thompson? The voice is smooth, professional, with just a hint of barely controlled anger. Speaking. This is Jake Morrison. I believe you left something on my car. Did I? I leave a lot of things in a lot of places. You'll have to be more specific. Silence. Then, I think we should talk. I think you're right. When and where? There's a coffee shop called Grind on 5th Street. 1 hour. See you there. He hangs up without saying goodbye. Rude. but I suppose I can't expect perfect manners from a man who's been sleeping with my wife. Grind turns out to be one of those aggressively hip coffee shops where everything costs twice what it should, and the baristas look like they're auditioning for indie rock bands. Jake's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with a perfect view of the entrance. Strategic thinking. He's younger than he looks in photos, with the kind of practiced handsomeness that probably requires significant maintenance. Expensive haircut, designer stubble, clothes that fit like they were tailored specifically for his body. The kind of man who's never had to wonder if he was attractive enough, smart enough, successful enough. The kind of man I used to be, maybe, before 23 years of marriage and middle age caught up with me. David Thompson, I say, extending my hand as I approach his table. He doesn't shake it. Sit down. I sit. Nice to finally meet you, Jake. I feel like I know you already. What do you want? Straight to business. I like that. I signal the barista for coffee. What I want is simple. I want you to stop screwing my wife. His face doesn't change, but I catch a slight tightening around his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You're talking about the text messages, the dinner dates, the Saturday morning visits to your apartment. You're talking about the way my wife lights up when her phone buzzes with your messages. You're talking about the cologne she comes home wearing that definitely isn't mine. Now his composure cracks slightly. You're making some serious accusations. I'm making some accurate observations. There's a difference. The barista brings my coffee, overpriced swill that tastes like it was filtered through organic hemp or something equally pretentious. I take a sip and study Jake over the rim of my cup. Here's what's going to happen, I continue. You're going to end whatever this is with Marta. You're going to transfer to a different office or find a new job or move back to California. I don't particularly care which, but you're going to disappear from our lives. And if I don't, then things get unpleasant for you. He leans forward, and for a moment I see something dangerous in his eyes. Something that suggests Jake Morrison might not be the harmless pretty boy I initially thought. Are you threatening me, David? I'm promising you. See, the thing about being an insurance investigator is that you develop certain skills. You learn how to find information people don't want found. You learn how to spot weaknesses, inconsistencies, vulnerabilities. And you, Jake, have some interesting vulnerabilities. I pull out my phone and scroll to the notes I've compiled over the past few days. Morrison and Associates, for instance. Impressive name for a one-man operation that's been in business for exactly 8 months. Before that, there's a curious gap in your professional history. Your previous firm in California dissolved under what the business journals called unclear circumstances. Your client testimonials are generic enough to be fiction, and your financial situation is a lot more precarious than you let on. His jaw tightens. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you're living beyond your means to maintain an image of success. I know you moved to Michigan because you were running from something in California, and I know that if the right information reached the right people, your carefully constructed new life could collapse pretty quickly. I lean back and take another sip of terrible coffee. So here's my offer. Walk away from Marta, and your secrets stay secret. Keep pursuing her, and I'll make sure everyone in town knows exactly who Jake Morrison really is. For a long moment, we stare at each other across the small table. I can see him calculating, weighing his options, trying to figure out how much I actually know versus how much I'm bluffing. Finally, he speaks. You're assuming she'll choose you. I'm not assuming anything. I'm just removing you from the equation. And what about what Marta wants? What if she's happy with me? The question hits harder than I expected, probably because I've been wondering the same thing. What if this isn't just some midlife crisis or moment of weakness? What if she genuinely prefers Jake Morrison to David Thompson? But I don't let him see the doubt. Then she can be happy with someone else, I say. Just not you. Jake finishes his coffee and stands up. This conversation is over. Yes, it is. Think about what I said, Jake. Think about what you have to lose. He walks away without looking back, leaving me alone with my overpriced coffee and my racing heart. The encounter went better than I expected, but I can tell it's far from over. Jake Morrison doesn't strike me as the type who backs down easily, which is fine. I'm not the type who gives up easily either. I drive home feeling oddly energized. For the first time in months, I feel like I'm doing something instead of just letting things happen to me. It's a good feeling. Marta's car is in the driveway when I arrive. She's in the kitchen, making lunch and humming to herself. She looks relaxed, content, glowing in a way that makes my stomach clench. "How was yoga?" I ask. "Great. Really needed that stretch." "How was your morning?" "Productive. Had coffee with an interesting guy. I think we understand each other now." She looks up from her sandwich preparation, and for just a moment I see something flicker across her face. Uncertainty, fear. Then it's gone, replaced by her usual careful smile. "That's nice, honey. Anyone I know?" "I don't think so. Just business stuff." "Well, I'm glad you got out of the house. You've been cooped up too much lately." Cooped up, like I'm some kind of pet who needs exercise. "You're right," I agree. "I think it's time I started getting more involved in things. More active." She nods absently, already focused on her phone again. Another text message, another secret smile. But this time I'm smiling too. Because Jake Morrison has no idea what he's gotten himself into. And neither does my wife. The next few days pass quietly. Too quietly. Marta goes to work, comes home at reasonable hours, and makes conversation over dinner like nothing's changed. But I can see the tension in her shoulders, the way she checks her phone more frequently, the slight frown that appears when messages don't arrive as expected. Jake's keeping his distance. Good. Maybe our conversation made more of an impression than I thought. But I'm not naive enough to think one confrontation solved anything. Men like Jake don't give up easily, especially when they think they're winning. He's probably just regrouping, figuring out his next move. I need to stay ahead of him. Wednesday evening, Marta announces she's going to a work function. "Bar association mixer," she explains, adjusting her earrings in the hallway mirror. "Networking thing. Should be home by 10. She's wearing the red dress again, the one I saw her in outside the Italian restaurant, the one I don't remember buying her. "Have fun," I tell her. "I'll probably just watch the game." She kisses my cheek before leaving, a quick, distracted peck that feels more like habit than affection. I wait 30 minutes, then follow her. The bar association mixer is real. I checked. It's being held at the Marriott downtown, and there are indeed lawyers in suits milling around the lobby with name tags and cocktails, but Marta's not among them. Instead, I find her at a quiet restaurant 6 blocks away, sitting across from Jake Morrison at a candle-lit table for 2. They're having an intense conversation. I can see it in their body language, leaning forward, speaking in low voices, occasional touches across the table. Jake looks agitated, gesturing with his hands, while Marta listens with a concerned expression. I'm too far away to hear what they're saying, but I can guess. He's telling her about our coffee shop encounter. He's warning her that her husband isn't as oblivious as they thought. Good. Let them worry. I take photos from across the street, long-range shots that clearly show both their faces, the intimate setting, the obvious romantic context. Evidence for later use. They finish dinner around 9:30. Jake pays the check, and they walk outside together. On the sidewalk, he pulls her close and kisses her. Not a friendly peck, but a deep, passionate kiss that makes my hands clench into fists. Then they separate. Marta gets in her car and drives home. Jake walks to his Tesla, which I notice has been repaired since our last encounter. I beat Marta home by 15 minutes. "How was the mixer?" I ask when she walks in. "Boring. Lots of small talk and bad wine." She kicks off her heels and rubs her feet. "I'm exhausted." "I bet. All that networking can be draining." She looks at me sharply, like she's trying to detect sarcasm in my tone. But my expression is perfectly neutral. "I'm going to take a shower and go to bed," she says. "Good idea. You look tired." After she goes upstairs, I sit in my kitchen and scroll through the photos on my phone. Clear evidence of my wife's affair, documented with the same methodical precision I bring to insurance investigations. The question is, what do I do with this evidence? I could confront her directly, demand an explanation, force the whole thing into the open. But that feels too easy, too clean. Where's the justice in a simple confrontation? Where's the consequence for months of deception? No, I think Marta and Jake deserve something more creative. The next morning, I call in sick to work again and drive to Jake's office building. I want to get a better sense of his professional setup, his colleagues, his reputation in the local business community. The building directory lists Morrison and Associates on the 32nd floor. I take the elevator up and find a modest reception area with expensive furniture and a young receptionist who looks like she was hired more for appearance than skills. "I'm here to see Jake Morrison," I tell her. "David Thompson from Midwest Insurance Group. We spoke about a potential partnership." She checks her computer. "I don't see an appointment scheduled. He said to stop by anytime this week. Is he in?" "Let me check." She picks up the phone and speaks in hushed tones. "I'm sorry, Mr. Morrison is in a meeting. Would you like to schedule something for later?" "Actually, maybe I could speak with one of his associates instead? Get a sense of the company culture?" Her smile falters slightly. "Mr. Morrison is our only consultant right now. The associates are, well, we're still building the team." Interesting. So Jake really is a one-man operation pretending to be bigger than he is. I see. Well, maybe you could tell me a bit about the company? How long have you been with Morrison and Associates? "Just 3 months, she admits. "I was Mr. Morrison's first hire when he opened the Michigan office." "And before that? Was he running operations from California?" Now she looks uncomfortable. I'm not really sure about the company history. You'd have to ask Mr. Morrison." I smile reassuringly. "Of course. No problem. I'll give him a call later." But I don't leave immediately. Instead, I strike up a casual conversation about the building, the neighborhood, the local business scene. The receptionist, her name is Ashley, is young and chatty, eager to make a good impression on a potential client. Within 20 minutes, I've learned that Jake's been struggling to land major clients, that the office lease is month to month rather than long-term, and that Ashley hasn't been paid in 2 weeks. "I'm sure it's just a temporary cash flow issue," she says quickly, realizing she's revealed too much. "Mr. Morrison says the big contracts are coming any day now." "I'm sure they are," I agree. "These things take time." I leave my business card and ask her to have Jake call me about the partnership opportunity. Then I take the elevator down to the lobby and spend some time thinking. Jake Morrison is in financial trouble. His fancy lifestyle is apparently funded by credit and hope rather than actual success. That explains why he moved to Michigan. Fresh start, new market, chance to rebuild his reputation. It also explains why he's pursuing Marta. She's not just attractive and available. She's financially stable. A successful lawyer with a steady income and accumulated assets. Jake isn't just having an affair with my wife. He's targeting her. That evening, I'm in my home office when Marta appears in the doorway. "What are you working on?" she asks. I'm reviewing everything I've learned about Jake Morrison, but I close the laptop before she can see the screen. Just some case files, insurance stuff, pretty boring. She nods absently, then sits down in the chair across from my desk. "David, can we talk?" Here it comes, the confession, the apology, the request for forgiveness. Part of me is almost relieved. Maybe we can finally stop pretending and deal with this honestly. "Sure. What's on your mind?" She takes a deep breath. "I've been thinking about us, about our marriage, and I feel like we've been drifting apart lately." Drifting apart. That's one way to put it. I know I've been distracted with work, and I know that's been hard on you, on us, but I want you to know that I love you, and I want to make this work. She's looking directly at me as she says this, her green eyes sincere and earnest. If I didn't know about Jake Morrison, I might actually believe her. I love you too, I say, because it's true. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies and the humiliation, I still love the woman I married 23 years ago. I just don't love what she's become. Maybe we should see a counselor, she continues, work through whatever's been causing this distance between us. Marriage counseling, while she's having an affair. The irony is almost perfect. That's a good idea, I tell her. I think we could both benefit from an outside perspective. She smiles. The first genuine smile I've seen from her in weeks. Really? You'd be willing to do that? Of course. Our marriage is worth fighting for. And it is. But not in the way she thinks. After she goes to bed, I sit in my office and plan my next move. Jake Morrison thinks he's clever, targeting vulnerable married women with his charm and his manufactured success story. Time to show him what happens when he targets the wrong woman. Time to show him what a real investigation looks like. Friday morning brings unseasonably warm weather and a text message that changes everything. I'm having coffee in my kitchen when Marta's hidden phone buzzes from upstairs. She's in the shower, so I slip up to check it. Can't do this anymore? Too risky? We need to talk. Jake's getting cold feet. Probably worried about what I might do next, how much I actually know about his situation. Smart man, but not smart enough. I take a screenshot and hurry back downstairs before Marta finishes her shower. 20 minutes later, she comes down dressed for work, moving with the quick, efficient motions of someone who's running late. Big day today? I ask. The usual. Depositions, client meetings, paperwork. She grabs her purse and keys. I might be late tonight. The Henderson case is heating up. Of course it is. After she leaves, I call Cal. I need a favor, I tell him. What kind of favor? The kind you're really good at. I need you to run a comprehensive background check on someone. Financial records, employment history, legal troubles, the works. This for a case? Personal matter. Silence. Then, how personal? The kind where my marriage might depend on what you find. Ah, give me the name. I provide Jake Morrison's details. Full name, address, previous California residence, business information. Cal listens without comment, occasionally asking clarifying questions. How soon do you need this? He asks when I finish. Yesterday. I'll make some calls. Give me 48 hours. Thanks, Cal. I owe you. No, you don't. That's what friends are for. After we hang up, I spend the morning researching marriage counselors. If Marta wants to play the concerned wife trying to save her marriage, I'll play along. But I'm going to choose the counselor, someone who specializes in infidelity and betrayal, someone who won't be fooled by her performance. I find Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a licensed therapist with 20 years of experience in marriage counseling and infidelity recovery. Her website is professional but warm, with testimonials from couples who've worked through various crises. Perfect. I call her office and schedule an initial consultation for the following week. When the receptionist asks about the nature of our concerns, I'm honest. Trust issues and communication problems. My wife has been distant lately. That evening, Marta comes home at a reasonable hour, which surprises me. She seems subdued, less energetic than usual. How was your day? I ask. Long, complicated. She pours herself a glass of wine, something she rarely does on weeknights. How was yours? Productive. I called a marriage counselor, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. We have an appointment next Thursday. She looks up sharply. You already scheduled something? You said you wanted to work on our marriage. I thought I'd take the initiative. Yes, of course. That's great. I just thought we'd discuss it first. We are discussing it. Unless you've changed your mind? No. Thursday's fine. What time? 7 p.m. After work. She nods and takes a large sip of wine. I can see her mind working, probably trying to figure out how to maintain her affair while attending marriage counseling sessions. Good luck with that. My phone rings after dinner. Unknown number, but I recognize the voice. "We need to meet," Jake says, without preamble. "Do we?" I thought our last conversation was pretty clear. Things have changed. What things? Not over the phone. Same place as before. 1 hour. He hangs up before I can respond. I find him at the same corner table at Grind, but he looks different this time. Less polished, more agitated. His expensive suit is wrinkled, and there are dark circles under his eyes. "You look terrible," I observe, sitting down across from him. "Thanks to you." "I haven't done anything lately. Been too busy planning my marriage counseling sessions." His jaw tightens. "You know what you did. Enlighten me." The background checks, the financial inquiries, the calls to my former clients in California. I hadn't made any calls to California, but I don't correct him. Let him think I'm more thorough than I actually am. "Just doing my due diligence," I say. "You'd be amazed what you can learn about someone when you know where to look." "What do you want?" "I told you what I want. You, out of my wife's life." "And if I refuse?" I pull out my phone and show him one of the photos from their dinner date. Then everyone gets to see what Jake Morrison does in his spare time. Your clients, your landlord, your receptionist who hasn't been paid in 2 weeks. His face goes pale. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Want to test that theory?" For a long moment, he stares at the photo on my phone. I can see him calculating odds, weighing consequences. "She doesn't love you anymore," he says finally. The words hit like a physical blow, but I keep my expression neutral. Maybe not. But she made a commitment to me. 23 years of commitment. That has to count for something. "She's miserable with you. Then she can be miserable without you. You're pathetic, clinging to a marriage that's already over." "Maybe, but I'm not the one sleeping with someone else's wife while my business falls apart." He stands up abruptly, knocking his chair back. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is. You just don't realize it yet." After he leaves, I sit in the coffee shop for another hour, thinking. Jake's more desperate than I initially realized, which makes him more dangerous. Desperate people do unpredictable things, but they also make mistakes. When I get home, Marta's in bed reading. She looks up when I enter the bedroom. "Where were you?" "Coffee with a friend. Nothing important." She studies my face like she's trying to read something there. "David, is everything okay? You've been different lately." "Different how?" "I don't know. More distant. Like you're thinking about something else all the time." The irony is almost funny. She's accusing me of being distant while she's having an affair. "Just work stress," I tell her. "Nothing to worry about." "Are you sure? Because if something's bothering you, we should talk about it, especially with the counseling appointment coming up." "I'm fine, Marta. Really." But I'm not fine. I'm angry, hurt, and tired of pretending everything's normal. I'm tired of being the understanding husband while she lives a double life. Most of all, I'm tired of being passive. It's time to stop reacting to their moves and start making some of my own. Saturday morning, I drive to the office supply store and buy a small digital recorder. Then I stop at an electronics store and purchase a GPS tracking device, the kind private investigators use to monitor cheating spouses. If Jake and Marta want to play games, I'll play along, but I'm going to change the rules. That afternoon, while Marta's at her fictional yoga class, I install the GPS tracker under her car. It's magnetic, weatherproof, and virtually undetectable unless you know exactly where to look. The digital recorder goes in my pocket. From now on, every conversation, every meeting, every move they make is going to be documented. Because when this is all over, I want everyone to know exactly what happened. I want everyone to know who the real victims are. And I want Jake Morrison to understand that some husbands don't just roll over and accept betrayal. Some of us fight back. Cal calls Sunday morning while I'm reading the newspaper and pretending to enjoy a quiet weekend with my wife. "I've got your information," he says, "but you're not going to like it." "How bad?" "Bad enough. Can you meet me at the office in an hour?" I tell Marta I have to catch up on some paperwork, which isn't entirely a lie. She barely looks up from her laptop, probably composing more secret messages to her lover. Cal's waiting for me with a thick manila folder and a grim expression. "Jake Morrison is a piece of work," he begins, settling into his chair. "Real name is Jacob Morimoto. Changed it legally about 2 years ago, probably to sound more American for business purposes." He opens the folder and spreads out documents across his desk. His previous firm in California didn't just dissolve, it was shut down by the state attorney general for fraudulent business practices. Jake was running what amounted to a sophisticated con game, promising clients results he couldn't deliver and charging premium fees for basic services. Criminal charges? Civil only. He settled out of court and agreed to cease operations in California. Part of the settlement included a clause preventing him from practicing in the state for 5 years. So he came to Michigan for a fresh start. More like he fled to Michigan to avoid his creditors. The man owes money to everyone: former clients, business partners, ex-wife, credit card companies. His financial situation is a disaster. Cal hands me a credit report that makes my eyes widen. Jake Morrison is drowning in debt, living on borrowed time and maxed-out credit cards. "There's more," Cal continues. "The receptionist you met, Ashley, she's not just his employee. She's his ex-girlfriend from California. Followed him out here, probably thinking they had a future together. Now she's working for free while he romances married women." The pieces click into place. Jake isn't just having an affair with my wife. He's running a long-term con. Marta represents financial stability, a way out of his mounting debts and legal troubles. What about his other clients here in Michigan? That's the interesting part. He's got exactly 3 active accounts, and 2 of them are behind on payments. The third one is a small nonprofit that pays him in peanuts. Morrison and Associates is basically a front operation. I lean back in my chair, processing this information. Jake Morrison isn't the successful businessman he pretends to be. He's a con artist targeting vulnerable women, and my wife is his current mark. "There's something else," Cal says, pulling out another document. "I did some digging into his personal relationships over the past few years. This isn't his first married woman. There's a pattern going back to California. Wealthy wives, expensive gifts, promises of a better life. What happened to the others? Divorced their husbands, liquidated their assets, and then discovered that Jake Morrison had disappeared with a significant portion of their money." My stomach clenches. "You think he's planning to take Marta for everything she's worth?" "I think that was always the plan. The question is how far along they are in the process." I drive home in a daze, my mind reeling with implications. Marta isn't just having an affair. She's being systematically manipulated by a professional con artist. Part of me wants to rush home and warn her, protect her from Jake's schemes, but a larger part of me is furious that she put herself in this position in the first place. That evening, I watch her carefully during dinner. She's distracted, checking her phone frequently, responding to messages with secretive smiles. Every buzz of her phone feels like another small betrayal. "Everything okay?" I ask. "Just work stuff. The Henderson case is getting complicated." The Henderson case. Her all-purpose excuse for everything. I wonder if she even realizes how often she uses it. After dinner, she announces she's going to take a bath and go to bed early. "Long week ahead," she explains. While she's upstairs, I check the GPS tracker on my phone. Her car hasn't moved since she came home from work, which means she's telling the truth about staying in tonight. Small mercies. But I know it won't last. Jake is getting desperate, and desperate men make bold moves. Whatever he's planning, it's going to happen soon. I just need to make sure I'm ready for it. Monday morning brings an unexpected development. I'm at my desk reviewing case files when my phone rings. The caller ID shows Jake's number. We need to talk, he says without preamble. I thought we'd covered everything. Not about what you think, about Marta. Something in his tone makes me pause. What about her? She's in trouble. Real trouble. And whether you believe it or not, I care about her. Right. You care so much you're willing to destroy her marriage. Her marriage was already destroyed. I'm trying to save her from something worse. What's worse than adultery? Meet me at Grind in an hour and I'll explain. He hangs up before I can respond. I sit staring at my phone, trying to figure out what game he's playing now. Jake Morrison is a con artist, a manipulator, a man who preys on vulnerable women. Whatever he wants to tell me about Marta is probably another lie designed to serve his own interests. But what if it isn't? What if there's something I don't know about my wife's situation? Against my better judgment, I drive to the coffee shop. Jake's waiting at our usual table, but he looks different again. Less polished, more genuinely worried. When he sees me, he stands up and extends his hand. Thank you for coming. I don't shake his hand. Talk. Marta's being blackmailed. Of all the things I expected him to say, that wasn't one of them. By whom? Someone from her past. Someone who knows about a mistake she made years ago before she met you. What kind of mistake? Jake hesitates, then pulls out his phone and shows me a series of text messages. The sender is listed as unknown, but the content is chilling. Pay up, or David learns everything. $50,000 by Friday, or the photos go public. Your perfect life depends on your cooperation. I stare at the messages, my mind racing. These are from Marta's phone? She forwarded them to me. She's terrified, David. She doesn't know what to do. What photos? What mistake? Jake looks uncomfortable. That's not my story to tell. But I can tell you she's been liquidating assets to pay this person. Retirement accounts, savings, even jewelry. She's desperate to keep whatever this is from coming out. My wife is being blackmailed. My wife has been draining our financial accounts to pay off someone from her past. My wife has been living in fear while I've been focused on her affair. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because she needs help. Real help. And despite what you think of me, I'm not equipped to handle something like this. But her husband is? Her husband is a professional investigator with resources and connections. Her husband can find out who's doing this and make it stop. I study Jake's face, looking for signs of deception. But he seems genuinely concerned, genuinely worried about Marta's welfare. If she's being blackmailed, why didn't she come to me directly? Because she's ashamed. Because she thinks you'll leave her if you find out what she did. Because she'd rather handle it alone than risk losing you. The irony is overwhelming. Marta's been having an affair because she's afraid I'll leave her over something from her past. She's been betraying our marriage to protect our marriage. What does she want from you? I ask. Money, mostly. I've been trying to help, but I don't have the kind of resources this person is demanding, and I'm worried they're going to keep escalating until they destroy her completely. Or until they destroy both of us. Jake nods grimly. That's a possibility too. I sit back in my chair, trying to process this new information. Everything I thought I knew about the situation has just shifted. Marta isn't just having an affair. She's being victimized by someone who's using her past against her. But she's still having an affair. This doesn't excuse what you two have been doing, I tell Jake. No, it doesn't. But it explains it. She's been scared, isolated, desperate for someone to confide in. I happened to be available. How convenient for you. Look, I know you hate me. I know you think I'm some kind of predator who targeted your wife. And maybe you're not entirely wrong. But I genuinely care about Marta, and right now she needs our help more than she needs our judgment. Our help. Like we're suddenly partners in this. But maybe we are. What do you want me to do? I ask. Talk to her. Let her know you're willing to help. Find out who's behind this and make it stop. And then? Then we figure out what's left of your marriage. I stand up to leave, then pause. Jake? If you're lying to me about any of this, if this is some elaborate manipulation, I will destroy you, completely and permanently. I know, he says quietly. But I'm not lying. I drive home with my head spinning. In the span of one conversation, Jake Morrison has gone from enemy to reluctant ally, and my wife has gone from adulteress to victim. The question is, what am I going to do about it? That evening, I find Marta in our bedroom, staring out the window with a glass of wine in her hand. She looks fragile, vulnerable, like she's carrying a weight that's too heavy for her shoulders. Marta, I say softly, we need to talk. She turns, and I see fear flash across her face. About what? About whatever's been eating at you for the past few months. About whatever's making you so scared and desperate that you'd rather lie to me than ask for help. Her face crumbles, and for the first time in months, I see my real wife, not the careful, controlled woman who's been sharing my bed, but the vulnerable, frightened person hiding underneath. I don't know what you mean, she whispers. Yes, you do, and I'm here to help, but you have to let me. She stares at me for a long moment, tears forming in her green eyes. Then she starts to talk. Marta sets her wine glass down with shaking hands and sinks onto the edge of our bed. For a moment, she just sits there, staring at the floor like she's trying to find the courage to speak. How much do you know? She asks finally. I know about Jake. I know about the blackmail. I know you've been liquidating assets to pay someone off. She looks up sharply. Jake told you? He's worried about you. We both are. A bitter laugh escapes her lips. Worried about me. That's rich, considering I've been lying to both of you. Lying about what? She takes a shaky breath. About everything. About who I was before I met you. About what I did in law school. About the person I've been trying to hide from for 25 years. I sit down beside her on the bed, close enough to offer comfort, but not so close as to crowd her. Tell me. My last year of law school, she begins, her voice barely above a whisper. I was struggling financially. My parents couldn't help. You know how they were with money. I was working 2 part-time jobs and still couldn't make ends meet. I remember those early days when we were dating. Marta always seemed stressed about money, always picking up extra shifts at the campus bookstore or the law library. There was this professor, she continues. Professor Williams. He taught constitutional law and he was charismatic, powerful. All the female students had crushes on him. My stomach starts to sink as I realize where this is going. He offered me a research assistant position, good pay, flexible hours, perfect for someone in my situation. I thought I was lucky to get it. But it wasn't just research. At first it was. Legitimate work, legitimate pay. But then he started asking for more. Personal favors, private meetings. He made it clear that my continued employment and my grades in his class depended on my cooperation. I feel anger building in my chest, but not at Marta. At the man who took advantage of her vulnerability, who used his position of power to exploit a struggling student. I should have reported him, she says, tears flowing freely now. I should have gone to the administration, filed a complaint, done something. But I needed the job. I needed the grade. I needed to graduate. So you went along with it. For 6 months. 6 months of feeling sick every time I had to go to his office. 6 months of hating myself for not being strong enough to walk away. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I told him I was quitting, that I wouldn't do it anymore. He laughed and said fine, but that I shouldn't expect any recommendations from him. Said no one would believe me if I tried to make trouble. What happened then? I thought it was over. I found another job, barely scraped together enough money to graduate, and tried to put the whole thing behind me. Then I met you, and for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. like I could have a normal life with someone who respected me. But it wasn't over. Professor Williams had taken photos during some of our encounters. I didn't know about them until after graduation, when he showed them to me. Said they were insurance in case I ever decided to cause problems for him. The anger in my chest is now a full-blown rage. Some predator had not only exploited my wife, but had been holding evidence over her head for decades. He's been blackmailing you all this time? No, not him. He passed away about 10 years ago. Heart attack, I think. I thought the photos were gone with him. Then who? His wife found them when she was cleaning out his office. Apparently he'd kept quite a collection over the years. She recognized me from newspaper articles about my law practice, did some research, and decided I'd be willing to pay to keep my successful career intact. Mrs. Williams, a widow who discovered her husband's dirty secrets and decided to profit from them. How long has this been going on? 8 months. It started small, a few $100s here and there, but she's gotten greedier, more demanding. The amounts keep increasing, and I keep paying because I can't bear the thought of those photos becoming public. Marta, those photos would show you as a victim, not a willing participant. Would they? Or would they just show a law student who slept with her professor for grades and money? You know how these things get twisted. My career would be over. My reputation would be destroyed. Everything I've worked for would be gone. I understand her fear, but I'm also frustrated by her logic. So instead, you decided to have an affair? She flinches like I've slapped her. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Then how was it supposed to happen? Jake was just someone to talk to. Someone who didn't know my history, who saw me as successful and confident instead of scared and ashamed. He listened to me complain about work stress without judging me. And then I made another mistake. I told him about the blackmail, and he offered to help. He said he had experience with this kind of thing, that he could make it go away. For a price. Not money. He never asked for money. He was kind to me. Supportive. He made me feel attractive and desirable at a time when I felt like damaged goods. So you started sleeping with him. It wasn't planned. It just happened. One dinner turned into another, one conversation led to another, and before I knew it, we were... She trails off, unable to finish the sentence. Having an affair. Yes. We sit in silence for a few minutes. I'm trying to process everything she's told me, trying to separate my anger at her choices from my sympathy for her situation. The money you've been paying, I say finally. How much? $47,000 so far. Retirement accounts, savings, some jewelry. I've been careful to take small amounts from different sources so you wouldn't notice. $47,000, nearly half our retirement savings, gone to pay off a blackmailer. She wants $50,000 more by Friday, Marta continues. Says it's the final payment, that she'll destroy the photos and leave me alone. You don't believe her. Would you? People like that don't just stop. They keep taking until there's nothing left to take. She's right. Blackmailers don't retire. They escalate until they're caught or until their victims have nothing left to give. Why didn't you come to me? I ask. Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me what was happening? Because I was ashamed. Because I thought you'd see me differently if you knew what I'd done. Because I was afraid you'd leave me. So instead, you pushed me away and turned to Jake Morrison. I know it doesn't make sense. I know I handled everything wrong. But I was scared and desperate, and I couldn't think clearly. I stand up and walk to the window, looking out at our quiet suburban street. Normal houses with normal families dealing with normal problems. Not blackmail and affairs and decades-old secrets. Marta, Jake Morrison is a con artist. He's been targeting wealthy women for years, romancing them, and then disappearing with their money. She looks up sharply. That's not true. It is true. I had him investigated. His real name is Jacob Morimoto, and he's got a history of exactly this kind of behavior. You're wrong. Jake's been helping me. He cares about me. Jake cares about your bank account. You're just another mark to him. No. She shakes her head firmly. You don't know him like I do. And there it is, the fundamental problem. Even faced with evidence of Jake's true nature, Marta still believes in him, still thinks he's her savior rather than another predator. Marta, listen to me. We can deal with the blackmailer. I can find Mrs. Williams and put a stop to this, but you have to end things with Jake. I can't. Why not? Because I love him. The words hit me like a physical blow, not I care about him or I'm confused about my feelings. She loves him. After 23 years of marriage, my wife is in love with someone else. I see, I say quietly. David, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. You are. I know, and I hate myself for it. But I can't just turn off my feelings because it's convenient. I turn away from the window and look at her, really look at her. The woman I've loved for more than half my adult life, the mother of my children, the person I thought I'd grow old with. She's still beautiful, still the same green eyes and copper hair, still the same graceful movements and quick intelligence. But she's also a stranger now, someone capable of betrayals I never would have imagined. What do you want from me? I ask. I want you to help me deal with Mrs. Williams. I want you to help me get my life back. And then we figure out what's left of our marriage. Is there anything left? She looks at me with tears in her eyes. I don't know. At least she's being honest. I sit back down beside her on the bed. Okay, I'll help you with the blackmailer, but I need something from you in return. What? Complete honesty. No more lies, no more secrets, no more hidden phones or fake work emergencies. If we're going to get through this, I need to know I can trust what you tell me. You can? I promise. And I need you to think, really think about what you want. Not what's convenient or comfortable, but what you actually want. Because I can't keep living in a marriage where I'm competing with someone else for my wife's affections. She nods, wiping away fresh tears. I understand. Good. Now tell me everything you know about Mrs. Williams. Full name, address, how she contacts you, everything. It's time to end this. For the next hour, Marta provides me with details about her blackmailer. Patricia Williams, age 68, lives in a modest house about 40 miles away. She contacts Marta through disposable phones and email accounts, always careful to avoid leaving a trail. But everyone leaves a trail if you know how to look for it. By the time we finish talking, I have a plan. Not just for dealing with Mrs. Williams, but for dealing with Jake Morrison and the wreckage of my marriage. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be final. The confrontation with Patricia Williams happens on a gray Thursday morning at her small house in Lansing. I arrive unannounced, carrying a briefcase full of evidence and a digital recorder in my pocket. She's a small, bitter woman in her late 60s, with the kind of pinched face that suggests a lifetime of disappointments. When she opens the door and sees me standing there, her expression immediately shifts from confusion to fear. Mrs. Williams, I say pleasantly, I'm David Thompson. I believe you know my wife. She tries to close the door, but I'm already stepping inside. We need to talk about your little photography business. The conversation that follows is brief and decisive. I present her with copies of her own bank records, obtained through methods I don't explain, showing the deposits from Marta's payments. I show her printouts of the email account she's been using, traced back to her home computer. I explain, in simple terms, what happens to elderly women who commit felony extortion in the state of Michigan. Then I offer her a choice: return every penny she's stolen from my wife and destroy all remaining photographs, or spend her golden years in federal prison. She chooses wisely. By Friday afternoon, $47,000 has been returned to our accounts, and Patricia Williams has provided me with every photo, negative, and digital file in her possession. I watch her delete the computer files personally, then take the physical materials with me. That evening, I build a fire in our backyard and burn everything. Marta stands beside me, crying as decades of shame and fear literally go up in smoke. It's over, I tell her. She can't hurt you anymore. Thank you, she whispers. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me. You just have to decide what you want to do next. The decision, when it comes, isn't surprising. Marta chooses Jake. She tells me on a Sunday morning over coffee, her voice steady, but her hands shaking. I've thought about what you said, about being honest about what I want, and I want to be with him. I nod, having expected this outcome. Okay. I know it's not what you want to hear. No, it's not, but I appreciate your honesty. I'll file for divorce next week. I won't ask for anything beyond what's fair. That's generous of you. She looks at me with something like regret in her green eyes. I really did love you, David. I still do, in a way. But I'm not the same person I was when we got married. No, I agree. You're not. What I don't tell her is that Jake Morrison won't be waiting for her much longer. The information Cal gathered about his financial situation has found its way to several of his creditors, his landlord, and the Michigan State Bar Association. His business is collapsing, his assets are being seized, and he's facing multiple lawsuits. Jake Morrison will be leaving Michigan very soon, probably in the middle of the night with whatever he can carry. I don't tell Marta this because she needs to learn some lessons on her own. The divorce proceedings are surprisingly amicable. Marta keeps her word about not asking for more than her fair share, and I don't contest her requests. We split our assets down the middle, agree on custody arrangements for our adult children, and sign papers that officially end 23 years of marriage. Ross and Amelia take the news about as well as can be expected. They're hurt, confused, and angry, mostly at their mother once they understand the basic facts of what happened. But they're also adults, capable of processing complex emotions and making their own decisions about relationships. 6 months after our divorce is finalized, I run into Marta at the grocery store. She looks tired, older, like someone who's been carrying a heavy burden. She's alone. How are you doing? I ask. Fine, she says, but her smile doesn't reach her eyes. You? Good, really good, actually. I heard you took early retirement. Partial retirement. Cal and I are expanding the business, taking on more complex cases. Keeping busy. She nods, fidgeting with her shopping cart handle. David, I owe you an apology. No, you don't. Yes, I do. You saved me from that woman, and I repaid you by leaving you for someone who... She trails off, unable to finish. Someone who disappeared the moment things got difficult? Her face crumples slightly. You knew, didn't you? You knew he'd leave. I suspected. Why didn't you warn me? Would you have listened? She considers this, then shakes her head. Probably not. Then there's your answer. We stand there for a moment in the cereal aisle, two people who used to share everything and now share nothing but history. Are you happy? She asks. I think about my answer. I'm living alone in a smaller house closer to downtown. I'm dating a woman named Claire who works at the public library and has no interest in drama or complications. I'm sleeping better than I have in years, and I wake up each morning without wondering what lies I'll be told that day. Yeah, I tell Marta. I think I am. I'm glad. She means it, I think. Despite everything that happened between us, she genuinely wants me to be happy. Take care of yourself, Marta. You too. I watch her walk away, pushing her cart toward the produce section. Part of me feels sad for her. She traded a stable marriage for a fantasy that evaporated the moment it was tested by reality. But mostly I feel relieved. I'm free from the lies, the deception, the constant wondering what's real and what's performance. I'm free from competing with other men for my own wife's attention. I'm free to build something new, something honest, something real. As I finish my shopping and head home to my quiet house and my simple life, I realized something important. Revenge isn't always about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about saving yourself. And sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and building a better life without the people who betrayed you. Sometimes the best revenge is happiness.